Hello and welcome to Wireman's Whimsy. Today we're making this really lovely thank you card. We are using the dies from Fabulous Floral. There's some of them there, and then we're using two of the flowers. We are using the All Things Fabulous stamp set. We're actually using this flower right here. And we are using the sayings from the So Sentimental set. This is the I Can't Thank You Enough. And today we're going to use Your Friendship is a Blessing. So you can see how it works with both greetings. So there's lots of elements to this card. So heads up, it'll be a 10-minute video. We have to stamp using a 3-step stamping process with this. And we need to cut out the filigree in the background, we need to cut out the flowers, we need to cut out the leaves. And to stop this card being too thick, I'll show you a trick with the matting, because we've got the Mary Merlot background in 5 by 3 3/4. We've got the Whisper White in 5 1/4 by 4, but we also need a piece in the middle. And to do that, I'm going to use the stitched rectangle die. And then I've got a crumb cake card base. So what I need to do is get started here, and I'll show you how we do that. I am just going to get the leaf stamps out because I did forget to get those out and get them set up. So I'm just going to grab my small long block, because I'm going to stamp all of the leaves at once. I only need one of each, and there are 3 different ones. So I am just going to put them all on that long block and just set it up, just like that. All right, okay, and for this one, I used the Mary Merlot ink pad for the flowers and the greeting, and I will use the Mossy Meadow for the leaves. So I'll just put that over there so we know what we're doing. Now, the 3-step stamping, I tried using lots of different colors and trying to do lots of different things, but what I found is using one color and then using different values of that color. So one thing I did want to show you on the stamp set, you won't be able to see it very well in the video, but if you look, maybe if I put this behind you can see better. There are numbers and arrows next to the stamps, so you can tell which one to do and in which order. It's fairly straightforward. You start with the lightest value first, and then you go to the second value and then the full value. So I'll show you how that works when I do the flowers. It's going to be lots of stamping off, so I'm just going to ink this one up really well. Stamp it off once, stamp it off again, and then put it down. Okay, so it's fairly light in the background. I'm going to take the second stamp, I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it off once, and then I'm going to line up the circles in the middle. And I'm just going to put it down. So you can see it's just a shade darker there. And now the center of the rose, I am just going to leave at full value. I'm going to line that up in the center as well. And there you go. It's just that easy to create that flower in the middle. And as usual, the ink dries slightly lighter than when it's wet. So we've done those ones, and I need to do 2 more little flowers. And of course, I just went ahead. I wanted to do the video. I was so excited. So I haven't really set up the other little flowers to do. But again, it's 3. We're going to start with the background one, and that will be our lightest. The middle will be our second value, and that the center will be the third value. And I do need to do 3 of those. So I am just going to peel off the stamps from the other blocks and load these ones up. trying to keep them the same way up so that I ink them correctly on the stamp so that it's fairly straightforward which way they go. And we're going to do that like that. Now, I do recommend, as I usually do, have everything prepped beforehand. But like I said, I was just so excited to go ahead and do this one. And the reason I'm stamping all 3 flowers, sometimes I prep stuff and it's half done, but I really wanted to show you the 3-step stamping. So this is the background. This is the biggest piece on the small flower. So we are going to stamp it off once, stamp it off twice, and then we're going to stamp it down. So that gives us a light value. I'll ink it up again, stamp it off once, stamp it off twice, and put it down on the paper. And now that's completed. This is the middle. It's going to be the second value. So I'll stamp it off once, and then I will put it onto the flower, just like that. Do this again, stamp it off again, and right on the flower. And now the middle is going to be the darkest value. We just plunk that down in the middle, and then plunk that one down in the middle as well. And that's got our flowers. We will need to cut those out with the dies, but I'm going to stamp my greeting. And I'm stamping my greeting before I do any cutting out because I do have a little bit of wiggle room. I'll just stamp that off to make sure it's inked up nicely. It needs a bit more ink. Okay. So I'm going to stamp this towards the top middle of the card. I'm just going to put that down like that. Okay, so we're now finished with the Merry Merlot. But you know what? It looks a little faded in the middle. I'm going to turn it over and do it again. That's the joy of paper. You have 2 sides. So let's just make sure that isn't light in the middle still. So again, stamping towards the middle. And there we go. That's much better now. Okay, so we're finished with the Merry Merlot ink. So I'm going to just put that to the side. What we need to do with this now is we need to cut it out. And what this does, when we cut it out, we get the background matte and we get the foreground matte. So it's a way to save paper, save layering, and as long as it's relatively centered, because this is the Merry Merlot is going to go over the edge. So even if you like right off to the side, Merry Merlot will still center over it. So it gives you some wiggle room. I'm going to set this up and I'm going to use my magnetic base so it helps hold the die in place. I'm going to make sure I've got that lined up so that my middle piece, which is the most important piece, is straight. And then I'm going to run it through. And this is a straight edged die. And if you run straight edge dies through on their edge, your machine is going to clunk, clunk, clunk. So if you turn it to the side so that you're putting it through on a point, it's going to be much easier to push through the machine, and your machine isn't going to make that horrible clunking sound that makes you think it's coming apart. So then I'm just going to put that through. I'm going to run it through. See, no clunking noise on the beginning. And just that little pop at the end as the die comes out, rather than that big massive snap as it goes through. So now what you do when you take the die off, now you have your middle piece and your background piece, and you haven't used a ton of paper, and it's not super thick. It's not 3 layers of paper thick in the middle. So we've got those pieces there, and that's done there. Now we need to, we should do some leaves. What I'm trying to do is cut out as much as possible all at once to save some time. So I can do the 2 of the flowers. So I'm going to line this up on my plate. And sometimes the magnetic plate, the magnets make the dies have a life of their own and they shift, but if you get it set up in the right place, you're okay. So we're just going to put those on like that and then sandwich it up. And put the sandwich down over top and run it through the machine. Oh, and I'm only going to run it that far because I can see that my second one shifted. So I'm going to cut the first flower out. It is all happening on this video, I tell you. There's the first flower, but as I was putting it through, the die shifted on the little one. So I'm going to put that back through the machine and just press down on it there so it doesn't go through. Sometimes if your cutting plates are a little bit bent, when you put it through the machine, it will pop up the back end, and you can lose placement on your dies. So it's always good to check before you go ahead and run it through. Just saves you having to do steps all over again. So I'll just cut that second small flower out, run that through, and then we'll stamp some leaves, and I'll get the dies out for the leaves. And we'll cut the filigree piece and the leaves out at the same time. So there is our second small flower. And I will put the die back over here. Okay, so I need to stamp the leaves. So I'm going to get out another just scrap of Whisper White. I have a drawer full of scraps of Whisper White. So we're just going to use our Mossy Meadow, and we're going to ink. And these ones are printed in such a way that they are a little bit variegated when you stamp them anyway. So we'll just stamp that down, and there's our leaves, a nice pretty green. And I will set this up. I'll show you how I'm setting it up. We're going to just take the back end of this piece of crumb cake off, throw that in the garbage. Okay, so this we're just going to put down like this. You are going to need your sponge and brush, or you could put some waxed paper in between to help it pop out just a little bit easier. Then I'm going to just tear off that extra piece, put that down, and I need to grab the leaf dies from my set. So that's that one, that is that one, and there's the little one. So we're just going to put these on like that, line them all up as best you can. And if they won't sit where you want, see how that one keeps popping out of the way? You just grab yourself a Post-it note, your trusty stash of Post-it notes, and you place it where you need it to be, and then you put the Post-it note down over top of it to hold it in place. The other ones seem to be on the magnets pretty well, so we're good to go there. I'm going to put this down, focusing on keeping my, seeing this one moved, so I'm going to get another Post-it. So at this point, I'm really kind of tempted to just redo this video because there's so many things that have gone a little bit sideways, but I'm not going to, because you know what? It's not all easy peasy and as slick as it appears in some of the videos. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain, but you get through it and you get everything done. So I'm just going to run this whole sandwich through, and it's going to bang on that one. There we go. And then it'll bang at the end of there. Okay, so eventually we will get to build this card, I promise. So what we've got now is we need to peel our Post-it notes off. Just put your dies to the side. Some people use a magnetic tray to hold on to their dies so that they don't go missing while they're working. I had one lady who lost a die and couldn't find it for the life of her. And then she realized it was stuck to the magnetic clasp on her Fitbit. So they do end up everywhere. I'm going to take this one off, and it's come out of the die really, really well. But as you can see, it's got all the little bits still in it. So I'm going to turn it over and work from the back. I'm just going to use my brush And these ones like this are a really good candidate for using with the adhesive paper, so that you basically create a sticker when you do this. This one, I'm not going to worry too much about the glue showing through, because I'm going to glue in the centers, and I've got the flowers over top of it. So it's not like there's going to be shiny bits of Stampin' Seal showing through. So, and if you get most of them out and the rest aren't coming out, you just grab a stylus and you just work it. You just give it a little push, and they all come out with a little bit of a push. So again, sometimes I have all this stuff pre-done and then we just whip it all together. But sometimes it's good to see the process, all the steps of the process, so you can see what to do when stuff doesn't actually go as well as it could. Sometimes you just breeze through and there's no problems at all, and other times your dies move or you can't get all the little bits out of your pieces. So we are now ready to build this card. We're going to start just layering it up. So we'll use our Stampin' Seal, and we will just run a piece there, run a piece there, and just down the side a little bit as well. Whoops, stuck to the finger. See, like I say, it's all happened in this video. So then we center this as we normally do on the card base. I'm just going to put it up in an angle and line it up, drop it down. There we go. This piece, easy peasy. We just run the sticky strip across it and layer it down. So we center that, we drop it down, and you'd never know you'd cut the piece out of the middle. So now we're going to layer the middle in, making sure that I am actually sticking the right side of it, and I am. So then we just center this and stick it down just the way we normally would. And all that work that you've done to get it to this point, you can start to see the fruit of your efforts. I'm just putting a bit of sticky strip on the middle of each of these. There we go. There's the Stampin' Seal in the middle. And that's going to be enough. The flowers are also going to hold this down. So we're just going to layer this down, and I lined it up with the bottom of the filigree bits, so they all end up being the same. Now, I did use dimensionals on these, so I'll put these cards next to each other so you can see, and I'm just going to move that out of the way. And we will build the card. So, need the dimensionals. And as I've said before, I use every single bit of my sheet of dimensionals to the point where I even cut the edges off. So bear with me. I pre-cut this one. See, I did do something ahead of time. And we're just going to put these down. And then I chose to play with the middle one first, put it down where I wanted it to be. And I really kind of want it right there, just like that. So then I'm going to put the smaller flowers just tucked underneath the edge and just off to the side. And you can put leaves, if you wanted to do more than 3 sets of leaves, if you wanted to put 5 or 6 leaves on, it's not a problem. The joy of doing these videos is knowing that people are going to take the idea that they see and the different steps that are involved, and they're going to do something completely different, but just as lovely. So we are going to take this set of leaves and we're just going to tuck them underneath, just like that. So they're going to stick out a little bit higher, and then we're going to take this one and we're going to put it at the bottom. And the leaves don't all have to go in the same place on every single one. Again, it's how you choose to do it and where you choose to put things. You can overlap it or you can tuck it right underneath. And then the last leaf, and we will be finished. So although this video there were steps of it, as I say, that didn't go completely as I expected them to go. Part of which was I was in a rush to get this out. I really, really wanted to show this stamp set. I'm totally in love with it and the way it works. But it also gives you an opportunity to see how you can build and how you can keep going. And even sometimes when things go wrong, they actually point you to a new direction and something else to do. So thank you very much for sticking with me and watching this video. And if there is anything you would like to purchase, please use the links below, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much.